watching Public Eye, brought to you by the New Vision Movement. And now, here's your host, Dr. Frank McField.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Public Eye. My name is Beulah McField, and Dr. Frank and I are pleased to come into your living room once more. It's been a while since we've been together here on Public Eye and have visited with you. I do hope you've missed me. Anyway, we're just going to take tonight, and we're just going to talk about some things that are pertinent to what's going on in Cayman today, talk a little bit about our lives and what we've been doing since the election. And basically just to reassure you that we're here, not very far away, and we are working as we always have within the community, just trying to put out as many fires as we can and help as many people as we can. We are so pleased to be able to really be back with you. I am so pleased. A lot of things have happened. It's been a year, basically, almost since the election. There's a lot of things that's happened. There's so many people that I'm speaking with in the communities daily that are just having such a hard time making ends meet. There's issues like the immigration policy, the 7-year rollover plan, which in itself may not be a bad thing, but how it is applied and the difficulty and the everyday worker in Cayman, the common laborer, the persons that clean our houses and take care of our children, the ones that work on our roads and the ones that work in the farms and take care of them. And there's just no chance that they're going to make this residency requirement. But they've worked and sweat and put in as much in the Cayman Islands as the lawyer, the accountant, the doctor, the teacher. How is it that we can say that one person's labor is worth the price of citizenship and another person's labor, which is hard and earnest, is just not worth that, just doesn't have the same value, And these are the things that are unfair. And when a law comes into our nation that is unfair, as this law is discriminatory as this one is it just should not be allowed to remain. It needs truly to be examined. It needs to be fair. We need to look at these people, and we need to value them on the basis of what they do, what they have contributed to the Cayman Islands. And that contribution shouldn't be determined to be more valuable because one has had more formal education than another person's, because of the color of one's skin as opposed to that of another, because of the place of one's birth. These should not be the things that the criteria by which we judge and we make those decisions, but it should be by the heart of the people. If you're hardworking, if you follow the laws and the rules and the regulations of the land, if you contribute with a good heart and you become and make yourself a part of the society, if you assimilate, then you should be given that opportunity to become a citizen, to become a part of this country without a fear of just, being removed at any given time as anyone deems fit. Even here right now in the Cayman Islands, we're still referring to ourselves as Christians. As a matter of fact, when we look at the Constitution review and the move for modernization, we are saying there are certain things that the EU is doing and certain rules and regulations and laws that because we are a Christian nation, we cannot tolerate, we cannot sign on to. And if this is true, if we really are a Christian country, then I have to ask each and every one of my fellow Caymanians, where is your heart in this matter? Where is your heart towards your helper that you have kept in your home all these years, who have served you faithfully? Where is your heart for that person? And does not that person have a right to join our society, to become, fellow citizens with us in this great land of the Cayman Islands, as do the ones you work alongside in the law office or the accountant office or the banks or the hospital or the schools? Aren't they worth it? I mean, how can we be so hard on people that are just here to make an honest living? And we're gonna hear a little bit as well from Dr. Frank, and Like we're not, and I love this setting. I love this setting more than I did running up to the election, because this is not political. You know, this is not trying to get your vote. This is honestly caring for you and talking to you about the things that we see that in this country, the things that others come up to us and speak to us about, and it's just opening our hearts to you, and just you know, basically saying, you know, we are Caymanians. We were both born here in the Cayman Islands. We work hard, just like you do, to make a salary, to go home and to care for our family, our children, the way that you do. And we are concerned at the fact that Cayman might blossom or balloon out with too great a population too quickly. We know the mistakes that we made when we accepted to grow financially and to become like the 5th financial center of the world. We know what it was and what we lost when we decided to allow tourism and to allow that market to grow. And so we're a bit skeptical about allowing our numbers to grow, but in so doing we still have to be fair. We still have to be human, and we have to think of those others even as we think of ourselves, and we have to give them what we would want them to give to us if we were in their countries. Jamaica's our closest neighbor. We need to have a neighbor that we are on good terms with, that we are friendly towards, and who is friendly towards us. You never know when you may need someone. You never know when you may need someone to be a friend to you. So you need to consider that when you're thinking of them and who you want in your country and who you don't want, and how you come to that decision, how you evaluate their value, and consider that. Dr. Frank?
Beulah, jeez. That was almost like in church.
Almost, but not quite. This is really street Christianity.
Oh, okay.
This is everyday Christianity.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, yeah. No, but I mean, I gather that you were talking about the whole immigration issue,
yes,
which continues to not only affect the Cayman Islands and the way in which people behave and the way in which people think, but also the United States is having issues
yes,
today.
They are.
Germany is having issues. Italy have issues. All the major countries that are anything at all have issues with regards to immigration. So, I mean, I don't think that we want to believe somehow that prosperity comes without immigration, and that immigration won't bring with it its own special types of challenges.
That's right.
To people. And you know, we go back to that old saying. I mean, I know that you're making the connection between the Christianity and basically accepting people into your midst and being kind to them, and showing some type of appreciation for the types of contribution that they're making. Yeah. But one of the things, Beulah, that I and you said, you know, we're not political in the sense that we're not here to ask for anybody's votes, and I don't want anybody to believe that I'm at my age thinking that time is so long that, you know, somehow that the rope doesn't break. So I'm saying that I'm not projecting any kind of political ambitions or aspiration. I think that's part of my past in the sense that it's something that I did, I was there. If it happens again, I don't know, but certainly I would not organize myself, nor my thoughts, nor my behavior, my conduct based upon any future political activity in this country, other than the activity to say to people, if I see something that's wrong, I will always speak out about it. But from the point of view of saying that I would crave to be there to represent anyone, especially a confused country like this. People are totally confused. Yeah. I'm baffled by the confusion of people, and I like to be able to say to people exactly what it is that I feel, exactly what it is that I observe. They're confused people. They don't know what it is that they are. They don't know where it is they want to go. They don't know what makes them happy.
I know.
That's sad. Sad when people don't know what makes them happy, man.
It is. You know,
So how do you represent that without being the same way yourself, without being schizophrenic and unhappy yourself?
Yeah.
You see, because the values that we're trying as a political entity or a political institution to portray and represent are not cohesive values. There are no cohesive political values, which means values that are together. What is the common belief?
Yes.
What is the common faith? What is the common destiny? What is the common aim? Anybody ever tried to define that? Anybody ever tried to think that that was an important a prerequisite, an important first point in any state, in any nation, in any community? Definition of self.
Yes.
The objective of self.
I had the pleasure today to go and visit. I was visiting with Julie Fagan's mom today. I had the pleasure to spend some time with her. And you know, one of the things that we need to remember is where we came from. And I think that, you know, as long as we're ashamed of where we came from, you know, we really can't project into who we're going to be. We really aren't, we're not comfortable with who we are, because we were talking about when we were growing up, how we began our day by cleaning the lampshade that was all smutted up from the kerosene that we burnt the night before, trim the wick for the next day, empty the slaw pails.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. And it came on, you know, we just don't believe that we came from that.
But I don't think that's the problem. I think that's because I think that is the minor issues, because that in itself can be projected and glorified and admired too. But where we come from, as far as I'm concerned, and what I'm talking about, is where the element of evolution of a people. You want to call yourself a people, you want to call yourself Caymanian. I know that there are people here who refuse to take British passports.
Yes.
They say, no, I don't want a British passport, so I'm not British, I'm Caymanian. Although there is no such legal
definition, really,
entity
or people, yeah. There's
as
no such
Caymanian.
people.
I can't go and say on an international level that I am a Caymanian, and that someone must respect my right as a Caymanian because I legally have certain international rights. No, I am a dependent. I'm a child.
Dependent.
I am a subject.
Dependent
of a greater, superior entity, namely the British colonial empire, which continues to work its miracles in the Cayman Islands. Right? So if we want to start arguing about nationality, we got to get this thing straight.
That is true.
We never created a nationality for ourselves, and we have still to do that.
That's true. I mean, even when you look at the Constitution still doesn't define us as a people.
But it's going back to the same problem. Why is it then that we cannot come to a point to actually have constitutional advancement or constitutional change? You know why? Because we cannot debate politically. There is no sensible political debate. The only kind of debate that exists in this country is about calling people names, about trying to slander people's name. It's not about what it is that you need to agree upon in order to build a country.
It's not. I mean, it's not about the fact that, for instance, we're still not concerned about the fact that we have a representatives, or we elect 15 members to represent us, and in that 15 members right now we have one that is called a leader of government business, and yet that leader of government business, we saw that with the hurricane, is in himself just a figurehead and has absolutely no real power.
But because the people do not want leadership that has authority.
But we have leadership that has authority. We have leadership in the governor who is in our language a foreigner.
No, but that is ambiguous too. Yeah, that's neither here nor there. We know that ultimately the governor has certain rights, but the people will say, no, governor, you can't do this. If the governor was to do something that they disapproved of. If the governor did something that they disapprove of, he's a lie me. He's not no good. He should go back to England. Because people always want to have some way of criticizing and ostracizing, but never realizing, in fact, that whatever happens impacts them, that they're responsible for. It's like Alden McLaughlin talking about the educational system and the children being failures, not knowing that he is a part of the system that has created the failure. He didn't have to be in government to be responsible. He's a Caymanian, and we are all collectively, and we are all collectively responsible for what happens in our country.
And a father. That's right.
You know, so if there are failures going on in our society,
then we're all a part of it.
You don't have to be a part of government and not a part of government to be responsible.
That's right.
It's our state. It's supposed to be that way. You see, and we have to absorb the responsibility for whatever it is that happens in our country. The conduct of every individual in our country should be a concern. It's like the same as the Christian concept, because it's the communal concept.
It's everyone have to be
community. Because that is what it's all about. It's all about the creation of a community.
And everyone carrying the responsibility of that.
And the organization of that community.
Yeah.
And the authority of that community through its legal representative.
Why would you think, for instance, that we are not truly able to come to that maturity where we would look at one another and say, okay, let us be responsible. Let us take the responsibility, or as the Bible like to say, let us take the oversight thereof of ourselves. And if we do this and if we do that, we know the consequences. But let us bear the consequences, because that is what people do in maturity. It's what individuals do, and it's what a country has to do.
Lack of experience. Lack of experience is the most terrible thing in the world, not lack of knowledge. Lack of experience, because you can have knowledge, and if you have no experience, you won't trust the knowledge.
Yes.
And if a society does not create the social and political experiences for the people to be able to make intelligent political and social choices, they will not be able to do so, Beulah. We're now living in the 21st century.
Yes.
We're calling ourselves a country, a nation,
but we're not.
A nationality.
But we're not.
And we can't even create a constitution. We cannot even see the importance of a constitution for ourselves.
We
call ourselves the freest country in the world, and we are afraid of a Bill of Rights? Come on, the contradictions are so incredible that the only reason why people don't come out and laugh at us is because they're among us.
Yes.
And they figure if they laugh at us, we're going to punish them for it. If some of us will even understand what it is that they're laughing at. But what they're laughing at is our stupidity,
yes,
our inability to understand the very contradictions.
Well, that's what I found
within ourselves.
Well, that's what I found about the whole thing. Now, I am a confessing Christian, and I find that as a confessing Christian, the hypocrisy of us calling ourselves a Christian nation. And I mean, I was one of those that went out and I stood up the day the cruise ship came in that was full of homosexuals. Mm-hmm. And I did it not because I protest homosexuality, but I did it because they were brazen enough to say to us as a Christian country that we are homosexuals. Then I feel brazen enough to say to them as homosexual, I'm a Christian. Mm-hmm. So it was just on that level. But the thing about it is that we take and we make a big fuss as the Christian community within the Cayman Islands about homosexuals coming in, but no Christian is raising their voices when their sisters in their churches and the brothers in their churches are being sent home
or
on this 7 year,
or in the legislative assembly
is being sent home after these 7 years.
Goodness
7 years of giving their labor to us, 7 years of believing, because we made them believe somehow that they could become a part of this country.
But what I'm saying is people choose according to what they selfishly believe is good for them. Yeah? So when people are going out there, and this is a problem that I have with the Christian community. I have a problem with the so-called Christian community, because I shouldn't probably let them monopolize, those who confess, monopolize upon the definition of Christianity and Christian. Okay? I shouldn't probably allow them to do that. But the problem I have is that they behave socially in such a way that they are only confessing Christianity because they believe if they didn't confess it, that they would not have access to certain social privileges.
Yes.
And political privileges.
Yes.
They confess only to have access to earthly authority and earthly rewards, not because they understand anything about their own spirituality and the spirituality of other people. Yes. So when they're fighting against homosexuals or when they're fighting against other things, they're only going to come out to raise their voices when they see how it's going to benefit them personally in this world, not how it's going to create a morality or guidance for other people. And like I'm saying, we're back to how we as individuals within this society, and there are other societies similar too,
yes,
but I'm talking about this one, how we go about behaving socially and politically.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like you mentioned earlier. It's the same argument that we're seeing right now in the United States. I like to get up in the morning and watch a little bit of CNN, and I like to watch a little bit of BBC also before I leave home. And it's something that's happening there right now. And again, it is the Christian conservatives, that base that is saying, you know, we can't have these people in our countries. But it's just what I'm saying, and I'm saying it as a Christian to Christians, because I'm concerned.
But Christians have been making the problems for people.
When I say that, you know, we can't do that. We have to give to people what we want people to give to us: the right to live and to make a living.
The people who dominate religion, who call themselves Christians and refuse that other people call themselves Christian because they have a monopoly. They know what God is saying and thinking and how he's judging according to them, because they know about my soul more than I know about my soul. You see? So these are the people who have always created the problem. So when people say, well, the church is responsible for this and the church is responsible for this and the church is responsible for that and the other thing, and people get upset and say, no, it's not true. But they have always been that part of the religious community over history, since the foundation of Christianity, that have conveniently sided with the devil. Whether or not it was the issue of slavery, whether or not it was the issue of colonialism, whether or not it was the issue of how you treat poor people or whatever, they have always been those people who have sided and who were only interested in using the church to create own social benefits for themselves.
But, you know, I mean, I realize that people can do that, but there has to be a group, there has to be someone who truly believes in what they read in their book and want to live it, want to emulate it. Right,
who's going to speak out? Who's going to speak out? Christ spoke out, and what happened to him? He was crucified. So you think that there's anybody that's going to emulate Christ? Emulate Christ, yes, they do. But how do they emulate him? They do not emulate him by going into the bars and speaking to people, by going and helping the poor, and going and trying to heal the sick. They don't do that.
We have to, because if we don't, then this cycle doesn't end. This cycle doesn't end, and that's basically what we're seeing.
Sure, because the cycle, how's the cycle going to end?
Because what we're doing right now is we're taking the Jamaicans and we're replacing them with other nationalities. Yeah. But the nationalities that we're replacing them with they're only going to run their course, and then we're going to go through the same struggle with them, and we're going to replace them,
But we're replacing ourselves all the time anyway.
It's just
not just replacing the Jamaicans, we're replacing ourselves. We've been replacing ourselves for the last 40 years. How many Caymanians are there really here that call themselves Caymanian? They only call themselves Caymanian for the conveniences. For conveniences, not because they identify with anything that I would consider or somebody else might even consider Caymanian. They identify with themselves, like I'm talking about Christians, identify themselves with the church for social and political and material conveniences. This is the problem which the human being has. If they do not confront this problem seriously, regardless of whether or not they get into politics, regardless of whether or not they get into religion, regardless of whether or not they get into education, at the end of the day, they will fail to achieve what it is that they're always publicly saying it is that they're trying to achieve, which is a better society, a more moral society, a more just society.
More
because
balanced.
we cannot have justice without our own participation
in it. We must. And that means sometimes that we must give a little. You know, I realize that I've heard people, they get upset that when they go into Foster's on Saturday evenings because the number of people that are in Foster's and the inconvenience that we as Caymanians should have to stand on line to pay for our groceries because there's so many foreigners standing there. And I think, how petty can we be?
Yeah, well.
This is the exact same thing that is driving our economy. It is what is allowing us to drive those big cars. It's what is allowing us to live in those big houses. This drives our economy. And the very thing that drives our economy, we can't live with.
There's certain countries in the world that I believe that have moral, what I would say, justification. No, maybe not justification, but maybe I could have some kind of understanding of why they want to have ethnic purity. Because they don't know no different. Mm-hmm. There are countries in Africa and tribes in Africa that I understand why they want to go and exterminate the other group because they're different. Okay? There are countries in Europe in the past that I understand why they wanted to put people in gas chambers because
they were different.
Because they were different. Because they were lost.
Yes.
Totally lost.
Yes. But we are supposed to be enlightened.
But we are supposed to be enlightened. We're supposed to be enlightened.
We pride ourselves on the fact that we are enlightened. We are in touch with our Creator. We are in touch with the things that He desires, the ability for us to see beyond ourselves and reach out. And yet when the opportunity arises, and it's here today that we have this opportunity, what do? We go back and act like the people that couldn't see.
And maybe when Hitler was thinking about the purity of the Aryan race, that he was able to get enough historical information to say, well, these people never mixed and this and that and the other thing. And so maybe you could build a philosophy upon that. But when you're talking about Cayman, anybody who has read the Caymanian history know, first of all, I said that there must have been a beginning, and that beginning is not so long ago that you can't still see it.
Exactly.
That you can't imagine it. You can still imagine what the beginning of the Cayman Islands was like. You can still imagine who the people were. You can still imagine what the people must have gone through. You can also imagine what the people lacked. And when you can imagine all of those things, your imagination should lead you to the point where you say, there were groups of individuals here, but there was never a nation here.
Exactly.
There was never a community that was carved in stone. There was never a law system, an ideological system,
there was
a social system, an economic system that bounded and molded people in such a way that they would not be flexible in the future.
There really wasn't.
In other countries, I have seen that.
And it existed for so long that it became fixated in people's minds. But
anyway, we're going to go off for just a short break and get our little thoughts more back together and come back and give you a little bit about what we think about what the real Cayman nation is going to be like.
Elegant china, beautiful tableware, classic cookware. Add the beauty of ambiance to your home with a wonderful array of tableware, cookware, knives, and more. Ambiance brings you the best Europe has to offer for your kitchen and table. Each design is a perfect blend of form and function. See the new Bosch coffee maker designed by Porsche and bright and bold espresso machines by Francis. There's always something new and exciting in store at Ambiance. Visit Ambiance today in the Strand Shopping Center.
Beulah McField uses the freshest ingredients to create some of the most treasured meals on Grand Cayman. But you won't find them in a restaurant. Beulah and her staff make the meals the Rotary Club of Grand Cayman and other organizations deliver in the Georgetown area. Throughout Grand Cayman, volunteers deliver more than 12,000 meals a year. Call this number if you know someone in need or can help make deliveries.
It's just a quick cash thing. Yeah. Quick cash, deal with the matter. When you send money, you fi get it done proper. Said quick cash, you know said them yo. You fi tell them how we send it so you get the money now. Said quick cash, much better. Quick cash, Cayman and Canada. Quick cash, USA. Tell them how we send it so you get the same day. Said quick cash money transfer. There's never been a better way.
There is no excuse for domestic abuse. If you are a victim of domestic abuse or just have questions, the Cayman Islands Crisis Center Crisis Line is available 24 hours a day. For confidential help, call 943-CICC. That's 943-2422. Remember, you are not alone. This message sponsored by the Rotary Club of Grand Cayman Central.
You're watching Public Eye, brought to you by the New Vision Movement. And now, here's your host, Dr. Frank McField.
I wrote some articles some time ago called Towards the New Jerusalem. And basically what I was trying to envision is what the new Caymanian nation would be, or what the Caymanian nation would be, because I argue, in fact, that the Caymanian nation has not existed up until now. I argue, in fact, that the Caymanian nationality has not existed up until this particular point. I'm accepting, of course, that there are those of us who have feelings as Caymanians, but a West Bayer might feel more strong about being a West Bayer than being a Caymanian. And it might not necessarily mean that the two identities complement each other. Or a Cayman Braca feels like a Braca. An Easterner feels like an Easterner. That's one reason why, I mean, it would be impossible for me to go from Georgetown to East End to run in the election. No, Georgetown happened to have been from the very formation much more of a town, and much more of a city, in that people came from Bordentown, West Bay, and Cayman Brac from very early periods in other parts and settled what is the district of Georgetown, and therefore Georgetown tends not to be as what ethnocentric or as clannish. There's more space for the acceptance of other types of people than those that we know or are familiar with as coming from our neighborhood, or coming from our family, or we know who the mama is and who the daddy is, because that's what, if we know who your mama is, who your daddy is, then we know who you are, and that is the way in which we conceived of belonging status. So a belonger was somebody who we knew who their mama was, or the grandma was, okay? Now, we're in a period where I'm saying that this is a great opportunity, because we were placed here. I mean, and especially those of us who consider ourselves to be African descent like myself, know that we did not originate in the Caribbean. We know that we originate in Africa, and that we were brought here to perform a particular kind of labor over a particular period of time, and that this is not our original home. And the people that we are with are not the original people that we were with. So belongers come from different origins from the very beginning.
Many different
This is not like
origins.
a village in Japan.
Yes.
Or a village in China, which was the last 3,000 years, or a village in Ghana, have been producing the same genes and the same ethnic qualities.
Yes.
This is a settlers' society, a society in transition, in transit. Okay? So one of the things that we have that is different from the other places that America has is that we are an immigrant society.
Yes, and that is
We were
exactly
all
who we are.
immigrants, whether or not we were voluntary immigrants or
Forced.
immigrants. We all were immigrants, okay? Now, if we're against immigration,
and the migration of others to our land.
then we should be against that, not because we think immigration is wrong, but because we would think that there is no room for immigrants, and therefore immigrants would decrease the quality of our livelihood. On the contrary, immigration actually produces greater social, greater cultural,
and
greater economic, and greater political benefit for all the people that live in these islands. It does not decrease them, right? And we have such a control over immigration that we in fact are admitting people basically out of economic motives and never out of social. Or any moral or any cultural reasons. I mean, we are so terribly
selfish
with that because hey, why shouldn't I admit somebody who can bring some good culture? Why shouldn't I admit someone who is going to come in and be interested in maybe the arts, and somebody who's going to be interested in the craft, or somebody who's going to create some diversity in the economic and social life?
Yes.
Why is it that people are thinking about, well, you know, I'm going to bring 2.5 Jamaicans and 1 6/4 Filipinos, and I'm going to get quarter pound of Chinese and mix it together, and I'm going to have social balance.
Because somehow I can determine the ratio for social balance.
Social balance. You can't determine the ratio for social balance because you cannot determine how each group is going to perform eventually.
And interact.
And will there be integration, or will there be separation?
Segregation. Will we see this? Will we see that segregation? And if we see segregation, what is the effect that segregation will have on the community as a whole?
So the real thing I'm pointing to is that you have a constitution on the table that needs to be discussed.
Yes, it does.
Because of the lack of maturity of the electorate, the lack of political maturity of the electorate, the lack of understanding of who they are and what they are and how they need to be governed, and why they need to preserve their rights, not against the government only, but against themselves.
Yes.
You see?
We need to actually write it into the Constitution so that it is a reminder.
We need to have the consciousness, because the Constitution has to be the result of the consciousness of the people, of the collective, of the community, what it values, what its fears are, what its aspirations are. The Constitution is a social contract. It's a social contract.
Exactly, and it is the one reason that it cannot be written by anyone else.
But by you.
But by us. By the people. It cannot be mandated or sent down from England or anywhere else, because the Constitution must reflect the people.
But, you know, at the same time, you know, I got to tell you the truth. I mean, a little personal story here. I'm in the restaurant business, Ernesto. And I started with my partner. My main partner is a Frenchman. And he trusted me, and so in the very beginning, we didn't start with a contract.
Yes.
You know what? We haven't finished the contract yet. So the whole point is that it's like the Constitution.
Yeah.
Because we're running the country still. If we were at war or just coming from war, we had to, you know, but it's like everybody feels too comfortable under the present situation to make the establishment of a constitution a top priority.
And Dr. Frank, that works for your restaurant today. But, and as it worked for our country...
Well, I mean, no, this creates total chaos.
And as it may have worked for the Cayman Islands before. But we are no longer that. Look at the issues that are facing us. Look at the complexity of our daily lives. When we think of immigration, we think of our prison, we think of the social fabric, we think of the economic environment and the tourism, and right now the cruise ship, whether or not, you know, when we think of all these things and how they impact our lives. And then we think, well, they're impacting our lives today. How do we want them to impact it
in the future?
In the future.
And,
the Constitution is more about the future.
Right, and it's also trying to say something about how you propose that the generations to come should manage
the resources
and so it's back to that issue of why is it that the Constitution, the debate of the Constitution, has been pulled off the political agenda. Why is it that the whole immigration issues have been pulled off of the agenda? You know, I still take offense to people who say to
me,
the
labor issue has been pulled off the agenda.
Yeah, and
the housing issue has been pulled off the agenda.
Well, I didn't know there was a housing issue anyway.
But there is.
No, but I mean, so if we are to look at the whole idea of immigrants in the Cayman Islands, I mean, what is it that we want with this rollover policy? Because I refuse to debate that rollover policy. I absent myself from Parliament when it was being debated. You know why? Because I said it don't make no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I said to McKeever, it doesn't make any sense. You know why? Because we just gave all these status grants, and as far as I'm concerned, that has to have a repercussion in the society from the point of view of people, how people feel. Those people now have legal rights to begin to call themselves Caymanians in the legal sense of the word. In the legal sense, every being entitled to own businesses, to do certain types of things.
To demand certain social
benefits, whatever. So I said, you know what, with all of those that we have given, what will happen, my opinion, is that the fear has to somehow become minimized. It has to be. Not saying that there won't be Caymanians out there that's complaining against foreigners, and that these same people that were granted status are still being considered foreigners. But the way in which the political machinery operates have to change, will change.
It will change.
Because they will have an impact on the choices, the political and social choices that are being made for the country. And maybe one of the ways that they will have an impact is that they will not be afraid of competition. Maybe they will understand that if Eastern Avenue is to do good business, that we are going to have people. And if everybody wants to get into a business, you're going to have people to buy from those businesses.
Exactly.
If everybody wants to own bars, you're going to need to have people who are going to support that. If everybody wants to establish churches, then you're going to have people to go to those churches.
Exactly.
Because people are really the foundation of any community. And without people, you cannot go too far. The Cayman Islands, again, is different from a lot of places because the Cayman Islands started with a very small population, very small base, and not a base that was ethnic in any particular way, that represented any specific ethnic nationality.
It didn't.
You see? So our possibility to be more flexible than Bermuda, more flexible than the Bahamas, more flexible than Jamaica. We have the possibility to be flexible. And if what causes societies to be successful today is their multinational, multicultural approaches where they see the world as a global village, then we know that Cayman had to jump, and we must preserve We must preserve in this country the advantage which God has given to us, which is He did not mold us and set us in anybody else's image, but an image that was very changeable and unique in the fact that it was changeable. And I think that, I mean, I know that I'll always be different, but I feel I can still live with just about anyone that is reasonable, that is rational. You know, I feel at the end of the day, I don't want to give somebody something, but because I'm human and I'm jealous and covetous and all of those terrible things that we are as human beings. But at the end of the day, once I recognize that, I have to give in to the fact that we have to live together. And so when I come to my senses, I have to give up this covetous nature and say, yeah, he should be allowed to have the same thing. He should be given the same opportunities. If he's better than me at the end of the day, then he's better than me.
Then that is because he has certainly put more, or he has accelerated. He has learned how to. But we can't be afraid for competition. We can't be afraid to put ourselves up against someone. We can't be so afraid to be as a matter of fact, to be inspired to be better than we are by someone pushing us. I was talking to my daughter, Felicia, and she used to be an athlete, and she says, you know, the hardest thing to do is to run a race alone. Because she says you need the motivation. You need that person running next to you. And every time you look over and you see that person is either gaining or getting ahead of you, you push yourself a little harder. Well, you know, maybe as Caymanians, we need to be challenged a little bit more.
Yeah, well, you see, we don't, but we don't like to talk to ourselves that way. We don't like somebody to tell us we need to improve.
We need to improve.
But we need to be able to take criticisms.
Yes, and
we need to be able to say, yeah, I need to kick myself in the backside here a little bit and push a little bit. I'm not doing enough.
Become more assertive.
Yeah.
Go out there and challenge this world. You know, don't hide from it. Don't kill every competitor that you have, but go out there and truly compete with them.
So, I mean, the rollover policy is basically a policy that rolls people over in order to secure jobs for people. Because why else would you want to roll them over? But who are you securing these jobs for? Another foreigner coming in. That is what is so ludicrous about it.
Yeah,
if you were rolling them over to secure the job for the Caymanians, but who are you? Maybe you're securing a job for Caymanians maybe in about 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years.
And in which case, if we grew, we would have created more jobs.
Well, this is the whole thing. If you have to secure a job for somebody who's going to be born tomorrow, then you are not thinking about growth. You're thinking about stagnation. You shouldn't be thinking about securing jobs. You should be thinking about creating them. Because you have to create jobs in order to preserve money, not just to make it. If you want to keep what you have to always improve. Nothing is kept alive that is static and stale. It's wasted if it's that way.
Even if it's alive, it's not healthy.
It has to be dynamic. So they're going to be naturally, if I have $10 and I employ my $10 and you have $10 and you employ your $10, then that's employing other people, and those people are going to make 5 of your $10 maybe, and that's going to employ other people. So that if people understand what capitalism is really about, they understand that it is not something that you can control. It is not something you can say, well, I like this part of it, but I don't like this part of it. There's no such thing like that. It has its social costs.
It does.
This is the reason why we were developing social programs, because we knew that it would leave people behind. It has already left people behind. It will in the future leave people behind. And there is a necessity for the government to always have some kind of social policy, some social consciousness, some safety net to help those people. That's what you do, but you do not try to manage your economy by telling people that you have to change people who are now making them a profit. Yes. If the man is making me a profit, you come to me and say, I have to change that man. That's irrational.
It is.
It's totally irrational.
And then you say we are based upon the capitalistic ideology, and we want you to stay here, and we want you to grow in this country because we want to collect revenues from you, which will fuel our government and our people. And then you say to them, but it matters not how valuable this employee is to you. 7 years they have to go. And then again, Frank, what really makes it an insult to people that are using, that are sensible, is that they say, oh, but you know what, if a lawyer is making that, he can stay because he's a lawyer, he can buy land and he can build a house. And if a doctor, but the one that's raising your children,
yeah, well, I mean,
they can't.
Yeah, my wife just went
They can't.
my wife had to visit Germany for 1 week, and I was in the house there with the helper, Dee and Joshua, and I tell you the truth is Beulah, it's no way that the value and the contribution which a helper makes
and gives
could be ever paid for.
Never,
by middle class people.
I was telling someone,
we do not have the ability to pay them back for what they do.
I was telling someone today, they walked into my office and we were talking, I was telling them today about a helper, the one that took care of our cousin that passed away. She took care of our cousin who was ill, and her father who was old and ill, invalid. She took care of them. When things got really, really bad and there wasn't sufficient funds in the home, she created an enterprise within that house that not only
paid her but fed the family.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
What do you have to do to qualify for citizenship in this country?
No, I think what you see, but this is it. This is it. People prefer to lose their humanity than lose the power which they have over people.
Yes.
People prefer to lose their humanity than to lose the power they have over other people. That is the problem.
And
that is the problem all of us have.
We have to lose that power.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we have to freely give it up. Because when we give up the power that we have over the people, the power to rule and to reign, then we become more human and they become human to us. And instead of having a slave, you now have a joint worker, a co-worker. You have someone that builds with you. That's quite an achievement.
So, but anyway, I know the roads are congested.
Yes, they are. The schools are full.
The schools are full, but they're building more roads. They're building more schools. We like ants. It's what human beings do.
That's what we do.
We work, we build, we must create. It's our plight in life. They say that when God kicked us out of the Garden of Eden, that's what He gave us.
Work.
Work.
You know,
that's what He said. You work. So we work. So don't think that if we get this road finished, that we're not going to build more roads, or if we get this house finished. It's our nature to continue to build and build and build until the last day.
And if we really want to come in with some hard laws, maybe a family shouldn't have 6 cars.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they shouldn't have 6 cars.
And maybe every person that is coming to the island to work should not have a car. Maybe that. There are ways that we
without losing your humanity.
And maybe everybody shouldn't have to go Foster's to shop. Maybe the bank should give some other people. Maybe we should get back to some local stores.
Yes, some neighborhood stores.
So neighborhood stores again, and you don't have to stand in line to go there and get your little piece. There are ways of resolving some of these great issues that we have
humanity.
Without losing our humanity. I'm serious. I mean, I can't deal with it anymore. I refuse to, at my age, to continue to allow people to think that I believe in the things that they believe in. I believe in prosperity for this island.
I do.
I believe that this island does have the possibility and the capacity to be a New Jerusalem, to be a place that is multinational, multicultural, multiracial. I made my choices personally. I think there are other Caymanians that have made their choices. I think what they really have to do, though, after having made those choices, is that they have to find ways to protect them socially and politically. They have to call on the political directorate to recognize that insane immigration policies will not help to preserve the economic and social and cultural advantages which we have been able to have advantage of. And that we really need to start to do something about this rollover policy. I never believed in it from the very beginning. I cannot believe that after someone has worked for you for 7 years, that they should be eliminated from a livelihood simply because somebody is afraid that they might be able to belong also to the community
And
that they have labored in for that amount of time. Whether or not they be lawyers, whether or not they be doctors, whether or not they be teachers, helpers, or gardeners. As human beings, they have the right to be recognized for their labor.
Absolutely.
And for laboring. And I think, Beulah, we're
just about
almost gone. And thank you very much for coming and starting the show for me.
Thank you for
I was very, very surprised about the traffic.
Yes.
There was a lot of traffic this evening. I wonder where everybody is going.
I don't know. They didn't tell me.
Yeah, anyway. But anyway, I know there are a few things that I want to say before I go. I want to do a little sort of advertisement for Jati. Taste on My Face there in Matfield, Don't Blink, Matfield Square. You know, me and Beulah, we eat there just about every day. I mean, Ernesto's food is good too.
My new diet.
It's fish and banana.
And fried bananas.
And fried banana. Fried pan. I leave the restaurant on the 7 Mile Beach to eat out there.
Now he doesn't have Ernesto's cheesecake.
No,
he doesn't have that. So if you want a cheesecake, you got to go to Ernesto's.
But if you just want, you know, see, that's another thing about Cayman. I mean, we stress the fact that the variety is the spice of life. And I mean, we have choices.
We do.
It's not as if we don't have choice. And if you choose your caboose, then that's your thing. If you choose something else,
it's good for you.
You know, what's good for you, you choose, and let other people choose. And because they're choosing something else, you shouldn't feel bad about your choices.
No.
You know, we learn to live with our choices because that's what life is all about. God gave us choices.
But Jati is doing something.
I think it's on the 28th. I think it must be Friday the 28th, where they're having a car. Well, it's like, you know, when they put the
loud music in the cars
and then the cars compete against each other.
But the best thing is going to be the fried
we
fish.
learn to live with other people. I mean, Beulah doesn't do these sort of things. I mean,
I'm a Christian.
I enjoy them, but, you know, because
but I love Jati, and what I love to see is I love to see him creating an enterprise
for himself,
a way to make a living for himself.
For himself. That's what we.
I enjoy that. I love to see.
And we're calling on Caymanians to support him and come down there. Like, you know, Franklin again. You know, Franklin
there with
the vegetables and the juices. It's a thriving business. We got one lady there who's doing some sewing.
Miss Modessa, she sews. She's fantastic.
You know, so come on and support our little communities. Let us see our choices. Let us enlarge upon them. And let us make what was little bigger and greater. Let us improve our Caymanian community. And we thank you always for watching Public Eye. Of course, Dr. Frank Live is one show that we like to do too that is concentrated more on entertainment and music. And maybe next month we can do another one featuring a Caymanian band. And so good night and take care and see ya.
God bless.
Public Eye has been brought to you by the New Vision Movement.